the session about child life and to know about all the options that we have here in India. It is challenging. It is very difficult to get people to understand the importance of child life in India, but I think it's a great start. So, which are the different areas or the fieldwork placements that you all think that this can happen in whichever cities you people are living in?
Participants, you can type your responses in the chat box so that I can, tell that to the ma'am, so that we avoid confusion. And
Or any of you all want to say something, you all can unmute and
Ma'am, can you please repeat your question? I think there was
yes.
some disturbance.
I wanted to know if you all knew any places of work in the pediatric field in your cities, the different places that you all could be placed in if a child life program is made or started in your city. Are there children's hospitals or are there other places to go to? Do any of y'all see yourself becoming a child life person?
ma'am, there is a response from Natasha. She says, Manipal Hospital Child Oncology.
Yes, yes. That's a good place to start. That's a good place to start. And is there anyone here who's into human development or child development and thinks they could be interested in child life in future? Do you all ever wonder that would you all be comfortable in a hospital setting, or would you all be scared when you all see the children who are sick? Is that something you all worry about if this was a field you all ever chose? Come on, I want you all to participate. This is a think tank for you all.
Everything comes here also now. It's okay, but I can see her in my.
Ma'am, somebody is typing. Krupa says, Ma'am, I do worry about working with children in the hospital.
Okay. And do you ever worry that you may fall sick because of them, or there is this infection control issue? But I can, once you start, it does make you more comfortable. And the whole idea of being out there helping these children get to normalcy is a big challenge, but it is so needed. And what is it that worries you? Krupa, what part of worry, what do you think worries you? You can unmute and talk too.
Ma'am, I think my worry is not doing right by the child and creating more trauma instead of actually helping the child. I might end up creating more trauma. I mean, not doing the right thing. That's the most worry I think I have.
I think the worry comes from you not being trained in that field. But once you are trained and you know the right things to say and the right path to take for the betterment of that child, I don't think you will come up with ways to make sure that you don't make that child uncomfortable. So right now, being so fresh and in your where you are today as a student, yes, it all seems very difficult, but I'm sure once you're in those shoes, you will do a great job. Anything else?
Ma'am, I think I worry about not giving the child the right kind of comfort or help that he or she needs because every child is different. And having worked with children in the past, I've come to realize that you can't use the same techniques with all children because one child may respond to it well and the other child may respond to it in a completely opposite way. So I think that's my biggest concern.
So if you have someone who comes to your house as a guest, you offer them tea or coffee or juice or some cold drink, right? So I think it comes from basic giving them choices. And I think if you start by giving the child choices, he is bound to choose one of them. And then probably that will be a good start from there.
Okay. Mayuri says her worry is deep down, I will be always in dilemma whether I'm doing enough for the child or not.
Mayuri, you know what? The care you take, or the care or the um, dialogue that you have with the child will give you your answer. If the child is not happy, he's not going to talk, he's not going to respond, he's not going to even approach you when you come. So I think the question lies right there, that if you are worried about whether you are going to be able to do something or enough for the child response will tell you whether you are in the right direction or not. Anyone else?
Ma'am, while taking up this as a work, we also have to interact with parents, right? And that also involves us having to interact with parents who might be protective. I don't want to say overprotective, but protective about their children, that they are not very. They don't want to really listen to us, and they know what they're doing is right. So, I think if I was in this field, probably I can do well with the child but not with the parent, but that should be a thing that I should be able to work with the parent as well as the child, right?
Yes, true. I mean, there are challenges in all of these areas. So yes, not all parents are very upfront, or not all parents want to share the information and stuff. But usually, if you go on the forefront and meet the child and have a good relationship with the child, automatically there is one barrier down when it comes to the parents. And as soon as you drop that one barrier, and the parent sees that the kids are close to you, or that child is responding to you and is happier around you in that hospital setting, they will definitely try and be more open with their ideas. Once they open up, always I think what we have to make sure is we make them feel that they are that they are the first for us. So we will take their options, their ideas, and then move from there. If they say their child needs a certain thing, then we are not going to contest that. So we start from there and then probably weave in however, whichever suits the kid.
Okay, ma'am.
Is it?
Any more students who wants to express their worries related to the field or what you feel about it, so that we can quickly start with the think tank. Girls, you can openly ask your questions.
Yes, please feel free to ask.
Girls, we request you all to participate actively so that you get benefit. Yes.
Ma'am, what were some of the challenges that you faced while you first started off as a child life specialist?
Um, I started off as a child life specialist when I was in the US, and I did my internship there in Cincinnati Children's Hospital, Ohio. And I think the first major challenge that I found was when it came to death and dying. That was a very touchy topic for me at that point, and I wasn't sure whether I was doing justice with the child and the family, because we are supposed to be there and help the parents cope with the loss. And I did, and like some of you all said that you were worried whether you will do the right thing or say the right thing. I think that was where I was too at that point. But of course, having been in the area for a while and having worked with those kids, and it's a very emotional time for both the family. And then of course, since I had worked with those kids every day, and suddenly I came to know about the death of that child, it was a very difficult time for me too, but I had to be there and make sure the parents were comfortable. We had to do memories for them. So we had to do different things like have their locks of hair, or maybe a footprint or a handprint for the parents as a keepsake. So that was my major challenge.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, I have one question.
Yes.
Ma'am, since you shared the experience, what
Mm-hmm.
I feel like is that if I take me as an example, what
Mm-hmm.
the experience if I had shared, like if I had been gone through, I feel like it would have been affected me like mentally, emotionally, and then next time if I like think of any child, like if they have such kind of experience, it I wouldn't have like gone back in this field again. So like I mean like there are many like people, right? Because of the child going through that same experience,
Mm.
they might not want to like come into this field. Don't you think?
Yes, it is. And again, child life is extremely challenging, and it takes a lot of strong willpower, mind power, and you really have to know that you want to do this. And then again, there are different areas of work in child life. So you can also choose to be only in some pediatric clinic settings where you know that the kids come for their routine checkups, or if there is a child who has cancer, that child would visit the hematology oncology clinic, and there you could be a facilitator and help the child get through the maybe the transfusions or whatever. So you don't always have to choose to be in those areas where there may be the ICU, the intensive care units, or maybe where the children may be dead and dying happens. So it's a choice. Did I answer your question, Mayuri?
Yes, ma'am, you did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Any,
Ma'am, I think we can start with think tank activities. Deepa, ma'am, can you hear me?
yes, yes,
Shall we start with the activities, ma'am? I think there are no more questions.
yeah, carry on. So y'all tell me, what are the areas that y'all would like to work in? I want y'all all to participate so y'all can get the best out of this webinar. So how can you work with um, the teachers or private hospitals or general hospitals and get child life around here?
Mom, I think we can talk about the benefits to teach, all hospitals about how a child life service can actually benefit the child and the family as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So, giving them how much of uh, how much of an improvement can be made with or how much of a difference is there when there's no child life specialist, and there is how much it can impact the child as well. So
True,
that could
true.
be one thing.
Anyone else? Do you see child life working in India? Do you all see it happening? Do you all think it will be useful?
Ma'am, it's needed, but I feel like there's a long way to go before people understand and start to believe how important it is.
Yes, yes. There is one very important concept in child life called play, and that is where the children get a chance to practice what they are learning. So that can also be a start somewhere in these hospitals. What do you all feel about that?
Y- Yes, ma'am. I think that will be very useful, helpful for the child, and I think it's a way to for the child to even communicate to the doctors, to anybody about how they're feeling.
And the kids are most open during those times of play. That's when they want to share the most. And sometimes, if you just do an activity like a drawing activity or some model making or playing with dolls and stuff, they show a lot of their feelings through those techniques. So that could be helpful too.
Ma'am, I was also thinking the other day about how an autistic child finds difficulty in communication.
Mm-hmm.
So when he admitted in the hospital, they
Mm.
would probably start trying to communicate what they are feeling at then. So I think having play or having any other means through which they can probably tell what they're feeling, telling them what kind of pain they're experiencing. It can help in to a large extent for an autistic child or people with communication difficulties.
Yes, 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 definitely it can help. And I think children with autism usually are first always come in with a lot of the families come in with a lot of denial, and the children come in with a lot of ideas in their head which may not be always true. So it I think something like play is like an icebreaker for them. What would you all like to know about working in a hospital in a pediatric setting when it comes to child life?
I had this doubt regarding how. So, ma'am's Preeti ma'am was talking about how there is children with facial defects.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wrong here. I'm not sure about my what I'm trying to say, but there are some children who have facial defects due to their parents being active smokers. While I mean the mother being an active smoker while she was pregnant while she is pregnant, and the
Right.
child ends up having. So when the parent comes in and tells that are they ask the question whether are they responsible, is it our responsibility to tell them you are sort of responsible, or do we hold ourselves back and just say no, it happens, we never know what it happens? I really had this doubt.
um, I think uh, taking responsibility at that point of time doesn't help anyways, because now the child is in the world, the child is already in trouble because of the children being in stress, the family is very stressed out. So it really generally doesn't make it doesn't make the environment very happy to pinpoint fingers at the family maybe, or at the parents. But I guess when there is a discussion, usually there are meetings with the family, the doctors, and the child life person around, and somewhere in the conversation it does come up from the doctors that if the parents had been more careful, you know, these things could be avoided. So, but I think blaming or at that point would not help.
Okay, ma'am.
But awareness is important. That's what I would say.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Ma'am, so for to become a child life specialist, you need certain knowledge there, right? So, while we're doing a master's in human development, we very briefly go through each topic because it's quite a vast subject. So,
Right.
what would you suggest? Like, what courses would you suggest after this? Because I was just, going through few colleges, and they offered like 2-year masters programs in child psychology, pediatric psychocare, and things like that. So, what would you suggest is a wise course to pick?
Yeah, after the masters in human development, I think coursework where they talk about psychosocial care and maybe another a degree, a certificate course or a degree for child life would also be an option.
Ma'am, so you're saying that it's wiser to pick a certificate course rather than doing a 2-year master's program?
No, after the master's program.
Okay, so do the masters and then do a certificate.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. Thank you.
The masters would give you a foundation for most of the topics, and then maybe after your degree, then if you go into these different certificate courses, and then even look into the Child Life Council website and see which colleges are offering those kind of courses would be very helpful.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Uh, Anyone ever wonder where y'all could be placed for placements in if y'all had an option in India, like pediatric settings? Do you all think it can help in those kind of areas? Maybe not necessarily rural settings, but even in the urban areas. Have you all heard about Can Kids?
Girls, please, all of you respond, not only the same people again and again. Nibra, Safia, Varsha, Vajiha, Gayatri, please respond. It's okay if it is wrong also. This is the place to learn.
And there is no wrong and right in what we are talking today. We are just sharing. We are putting our heads together and coming up with different ideas. That's the whole point of this. So um, don't hesitate. Just say whatever comes to your mind. How do you think the doctors feel about child life and how they would respond to child life if it started in India? Anyone?
Ma'am, I think it could go one of two ways. Like one, they could be very supportive because in some sense we are as child life specialists, you will be making their job easier because the child is going to be more prepared and more and would actually coordinate with the doctor. But another thing would also be if the doctor doesn't believe in play therapy or the importance of a child life specialist, then they could feel like it's unnecessary. And considering that doctors are given more importance, they could probably talk the parents out of opting for the help of a child life specialist.
Yeah, true. Anyone else?
Ma'am, maybe the doctors might feel like since we already have psychiatrists, psychologists, we don't feel like having a child life specialist again, or like
Hmm.
separately they might feel like.
True, true. Anyone else? So, what would you do, Mayuri, if that was a feeling that was coming? And as a child life specialist, what would you maybe think about saying to that doctor how you can help?
Maybe like I'll being a child, if I become a child life specialist, I might approach doctors. Maybe like I'll make them understand the like importance and the need of this particular department in every hospital, And then, because unless and until, because they might not have knowledge about it. So unless and until they have the knowledge, that then only they will understand its importance and
True,
need
true.
of having it in the hospital.
Absolutely.
Because,
Absolutely.
and I feel like, if even if I become the child life specialist, it's our job to come forward and approach them, because they might not know about it. So unless and until we don't come forward and let them know about it, then it won't be like fruitful, I feel.
Mm. And what would you say to the doctor? Why would you be, a better professional than maybe a psychologist or a psychiatric doctor? Why would you be better? Or why would you help the child more?
because some because ma'am, if because in I feel like, I will be like, I might like, well, since I don't have much knowledge about it, so maybe I can like give them example of play, importance of play. And then, without the medicines also, like, we can cure the child or solve the problems of any child.
Good. Anyone
Ma'am,
else
I
have
think
any
we,
other?
ma'am, I think in the case where you asked Mayuri what could be explained,
Mm-hmm.
I think telling the doctor about how being having taken a specialized course in child life special in child life, it's they would have a better grip in talking to a child than a doctor would, because doctors would deal with people with different age groups and may not necessarily know how exactly to talk to a child.
Mm-hmm.
And the child life specialist might be a better could offer a better space for them to communicate and allow them to speak to their child in such a way the child understands. So yes, that.
True, true. Anyone else? Come on, there are so many of you. I want to hear everyone's voice. Y'all all are going to be in some field related to this, right? Anyone worry about patient safety? Whether this is going to be safe for you or for the child in that environment in a hospital setting?
Safety in terms of an infectious disease, or
Yes, yes.
I don't think I worry about that.
Okay. Because that is also a area of concern for many people. So, like right now there is COVID. Would we go out and help someone immediately, knowing that there may be other COVID patients around? It's we
Mm,
hesitate,
I,
right?
yes, ma'am. But also when we are in this field, we know we have to be prepared for what's coming. So
Yes.
I don't know to even, because initially even I was in the belief that doctors and nurses have to have the option of not wanting to treat COVID patients. But then I realized that when they were taking up this field, they were warned about what they would have to face in the future. So I think
True.
even when we take up our roles as professionals, we should be prepared for what's coming, and rather than stay back, be able to deal with the situation, deal with what fears us.
True. Correct. Very true. Anyone else have any thoughts on this? What do you think would be your challenges? Some of y'all can probably just think for a minute and say, what would be the challenges that you think you would face if you come into a career of child life?
Ma'am, I think due to lack of awareness, finding a job, a stable job, and because of the lack of awareness and people thinking it's not necessary, you don't know when you could lose your job or where you're going to have the job.
Correct. Yes, that is a prime concern nowadays. Anyone else? What do you all think about communication with the child? When you all talk to the child, if you all know the child has a new diagnosis and has, say, for example, if you know that a child has come to the hospital, he has been diagnosed with juvenile diabetes. How do you think you would communicate with the children or with that child? Anyone? What would be one of the first things you would go and do with the child or say to the child? No answers?
Ma'am, I think
Rob, Natasha, you can go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Krupa. I think, first of all, educating yourself about it so that you know exactly what you're dealing with, so that when you tell a child, you're not lying and at the same time, you're preparing the child in an age appropriate way.
Right,
So, I think being very open with the child, but also in an age appropriate way where you're not scaring the child, but you're telling the child, like, hey, this is what it is, but it's okay because we're going to deal with it, you know?
Sorry to interrupt, Deepa ma'am. I think
yeah,
4 minutes to complete this session.
yeah.
Thank you.
So was anyone else going to say anything about how to communicate with the kids, with the child?
I was just going to say that when talking to the child and explaining the child what the child is having, um, one of the things that I think in my head is we could probably explain. I would probably explain it to the child through a story and explaining to the child how that girl in the story and uh, would experience some of these symptoms, and these are the challenges they're going to face and what they'll overcome. And yes, probably through some kind of way, in a way that they understand, they can relate. A story is a
Yes,
way. uh, a doll, like I've seen videos of how people prepare
yes,
dolls and such. They've lost a limb. If a child has lost a limb, the doll also doesn't have a limb, but they show how the doll can still carry out its activities, so the child can do it as well. So I
right.
think that's one way.
Mm. Obviously, I think the first thing that comes to mind is when we say a child, I think you should start with play. Play is what's going to be the icebreaker for between you and that kid, and then you can take it from there. Anyone else have any questions for me on anything we've spoken today, or any doubts about more y'all have about this session? What is the one thing that y'all are going to take away from here today? Can one of y'all quickly give me a gist of what y'all are going to take away from this session today? Come on, I'm not so boring.
Ma'am, the lack of awareness in an Indian setting and how important it is to bring it in.
Good.
Ma'am,
Anyone? Yeah, tell me.
I think it acceptance that we have, even though it will take a lot of time, we will, if we need to tell people about the importance of child life specialists, we need to take that time out to understand that people wouldn't really understand and accept the child life specialist, but we still need to try. And how much of an impact it can make on the child and the family, uh, the benefits of it. I think a lot. I mean, I didn't initially think it's a very unless until Priti ma'am had discussed last time. I didn't know about this as a field and how much it could benefit a child. But when I started to think about it more, I realized this is really, really, really important for in the hospital settings, and that we should, actively talk about it and make it a necessity in every hospital.
True. Anyone else? Any takeaways? Any key lesson that you all have learned today, or something new that you have learned today? Anyone like to say anything about child life, or what we could do to make this easier for the kids? I'm hoping that at least some of you all would take child life seriously and probably think about it as a career option. And do you all think a course could be planned out by any universities, you think, in human development, and would that help?
Yes, ma'am. Like Krupa said, until the previous session with Preeti ma'am, we didn't like so many of us weren't aware that there was such a thing called child life specialist, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like as students of human development, if we had like probably an elective course or maybe a credit course, you know, that just touches upon the basics, so that we are familiarized with the thing, and if we want to pursue it later, then we can do a full course on it. I
True.
do think that that would be very helpful.
Okay. I know the students are eager to know more about child life specialist, but because of the time constraint, we need to end this session here. Thank you very much, Deepa ma'am, for your time and patiently answering all the questions that is posed by the students. I hope the students have learned much more related to child life specialist than the conference. Um, Thank you, participants, for being so active in the session. I think you all will be moved to the main session now, and the workshop continues in the main session. Thank you, Deepa ma'am, again.
Thank you everyone for being attentive and listening and sharing your lovely ideas.
Thank you, ma'am.